in all of the land. Thank you so much for returning to us right here on 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. And we're getting into our conversation this morning. I've got Mr. Felix Gyamfi. He's the Director General of the National Service Authority in the studios with me this morning. And we're going to have a fruitful conversation indeed. We're talking making national service impactful and meaningful. Mr. Gyamfi, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I mean, not so good under the weather, but I'm here.
Thank you so much for honoring this invitation. The shift in weather, it can be a bit challenging for us all. Oh dear. We'll get through it. Thank you so much. Again, thank you so much for coming. And we've got a lot of questions this morning. We want to pick your thoughts on a lot of issues when it comes to national service, issues concerning national service. It's one that many of our listeners are passionate about, as are we, and certainly you will be as well. When did you take up this role officially?
23rd, but I'm sure by now you know that this August will be my 15th year at the National Service. But
that's right.
As a Director General since late January. Yeah.
Let's start broadly, and then we'll hone in on some of the specifics. From where you sit, having been, with the National Service for all of these years, how do you assess its impact on Ghana's development so far?
Well, there are some areas that National Service has made a lot of impact. I mean, the Act, which was recently replaced, Act 462, which was promulgated in 1980, has done a lot before the new one came on board. I mean, you're looking at areas like education, rural education. National Service staff has done a lot over the years because there are so many schools that without the service of National Service persons, those schools would not have survived. So in most rural areas in northern Ghana, Ashanti, Eastern, the schools have stayed open, and people have passed through because of the impact of national service. I think that there are so many stories about individuals telling how a national service came and did this wonderful job, and how they helped them pass exams and then went to the university and that sort of thing. Another area is also the primary healthcare. The national service has done a lot in establishing hospitals and doing census and that sort of thing. Another area is also the district assembly system, where over time national service people were the ones that were used to open new district assemblies. So most people who were sent to new district assemblies as national service to head accounts, finance, to head administration turned out to be permanent, and they were the foundation upon which these new district assemblies were built. We can go on and on and on, but of course times are changing. National Service has to respond to new challenges, and that's what I'm focusing on now.
Because you mentioned challenges, then what would you say are the key challenges facing the National Service Authority, now Authority, and with your new role, what are you going to do to address these challenges? Let's have an overview.
Yeah, I think that there are gaps are beginning to emerge between whether the people who we send to do national service are actually gaining any experience from it at all, and then whether it is serving them or serving the nation, the purpose for which the national service was established. And the gaps are very gaping. I mean, now people just want to pass through national service and have a certificate that they have finished, rather than actually learning or doing something that would have an impact. Often than not, young people want to stay in the urban areas and just pass away time in offices where they are doing virtually nothing. I mean, some people are even running shifts. They are not really working, and that must cease, and it must cease quite immediately. I mean, whereas in years past or decades past, people were eager to travel to Nantong or Ho or KJB to go and do their service and have this wonderful experience that they will share with their friends and family. These days, people are reluctant to go. I mean, you have a new generation who have ideas about places in Ghana that they have never been. Otherwise, if they had gone, it's a different thing. Times have moved on, and Ghana has become better in several ways. I mean, health, education, telephony. So you would certainly not be living in Savelugu and not having a mobile phone to make call, any other thing, or not be able to attend to hospital when you feel unwell. And this is information that we must begin to break down and share with our young people, that their services are needed elsewhere than not doing anything when it's time for national service.
So would you say that's maybe the topmost challenge, actually letting our young ones appreciate the need to extend themselves beyond the capital or the big cities?
Yes, that is very true. That is worrying, because I'm sure if you look at it, over 70% of our service persons posted are just staying in Kumasi, Takoradi, Cape Coast and all that.
That's over 70%?
Yes, doing nothing, really. Most of it doing nothing. Because if you go to places, and I can mention hundreds of places where national service people are beginning to run shifts. They go to work for 2 weeks and stay home for 2 weeks. That is not work. That is not service. Right? And that is a thing that we must confront. So for those people posted in these public organizations, we have tracked them in the last 8 years, and the data is there. It's taken them 10 years after service to find work. Whereas those...
Mr. JV, this is alarming.
Yes,
I mean, you said the data shows that it can take, up to 10 years
to find work. I mean, I need not tell you about the explosion that we're having in youth unemployment. People do not want to do anything meaningful because of hearsay and then certain ideas they have. Whereas if you were posted in the private sector and you were doing something meaningful, it will take you at least 3 years to find work. But those in the public sector, majority of them who are working in offices where they are doing little, it's taking them 10 years to find work. And the evidence is on our streets about people going up and down on a daily basis looking for work that they can't find.
That's right.
That are not existent. And that is a challenge we must respond to now.
And certainly you can see how that gap between finding employment can lead a lot of people into certain areas that they shouldn't be going in.
Yes. It's something that the nation must confront. So, beginning this year, my aim, and I've just returned from touring or meeting all our districts and regional directors at different forums around the country. The last was Temele, where I met the 5 regions. And I have told them that at least, even if we fail, we should do 50% parity between public and private sector postings. So that we send 50% of our service persons to the private sector and 50% to the public sector. If we end up sending up 80%, it will be very good, and I will not lose sleep over it. Because I know there are so many companies that want to have national service persons, and they do not even know how to. So I've set up 2 units at the head office and reinforced them and asked them that, let's get to work. We have come up with new digital platforms where people can approach us and get their national service quickly. I have said that within 10 minutes, if we cannot register a new company in a system so that we can post national service to, I should know immediately, because that's a problem for me. So I'm using everything possible to send national service persons to private organizations where they can learn skills, they can have good work experience, and maybe become entrepreneurs on their own, from which they can find jobs quite easily. Because as a nation, that is beginning to be a challenge. I think the official statistics is that 14% of our people are out of work. But in the youth alone, between 18 and 35, I think it's much higher than that. You travel around the country, people are sitting in groups under trees, playing drafts and all that. Whereas we have tons of acres of lands where people could have reared poultry, they could have had a goats farm, they could have had a maize farm, onion, tomato, and all that. We are in different times. We have to respond to our challenges differently. And people must face up to it. It is not about which religion or political party you belong to. It's about who you are as a person. And I have told my colleagues that we must respond to this individually. That what do we do at the end of the day? What is our role in curbing youth unemployment? And that is what my focus has been since I assumed office.
Now, Mr. Gyamfi, give us a bit of education now. We know that it's the National Service Authority, previously National Service Secretariat,
yes.
or shall I say scheme,
yeah.
beg your pardon. What is the difference, and what extra responsibilities does having the title authority confer on you?
The past administration, and they got it right, that national service operation, their way of doing things must move from just being a scheme. A scheme, you couldn't do much. You couldn't do certain things. You couldn't levy certain fees and all that. You couldn't take certain amounts of money from certain agencies. So the whole transition is to focus or refocus, dedicate national service to a particular area where they can make an impact. So in areas of youth unemployment, about training, about learning experiences so that they can find work quicker than they are now. So they needed some power to do that, and I agreed with them that they have to. Although in actual sense, the test really doesn't add much from what has been happening. And then we were going to get here anyway, because the challenges were beginning to emerge, and it's become obvious that we have to do things differently. And that is what anybody sitting on that chair at the head office must do.
Now, are there any new policies or reforms in the pipeline to improve the efficiency of the scheme? I'm getting wind of some farms and other interventions. Educate us, please.
Right. When I arrived at the National Service of my introduction, when I sat down, I started work because it's a place that I know so well. So the things that we have done there, whereas it would have taken you 6 months to do, I have done them within a very short time because I knew where we had to make an impact. Thankfully, the MasterCard Foundation with the Agri-Impact had some money given to National Service. The first year under the previous administration did not do much at this stage. So they provided a blueprint, a sort of a vision of where we had to take our projects. So we got it to it very quickly. So in poultry, we've already built a 20,000 capacity in the last few weeks, and then we're bringing 20,000 beds. Our aim is to get to 100,000 at Papao in Accra, so that after every 5 weeks, we will be selling these beds to any of KFC and all that. And the moment you hear that, that is the beginning of ending or seeing an end to chicken importation into the country. And this is led by young women at our Papao farm here. What is interesting is that the last few weeks and all that, young people have come forward asking us that, we also have our own pens where we can send, you can give us beds. And that is the motive of the Agri-Impact and MasterCard Foundation job, so that National Service become an aggregator. So if you finish school and you were home and you were not doing anything, you could suddenly have 2,000 beds. That would earn you 150 Ghana cedis after 5 weeks times 2,000. And that is a meaningful life path that people must begin to choose. Our lands was in acres of land around the country, which we're doing nothing on. Already last week I was there. We've put 4,000 acres under maize farm in the major season. And I think the news reported it quite adequately. In the major season, we are doing this 4,000 in Komeu. We are doing about 600 in Ejura. We are doing 250 in Branham. We'll do about 1,000 in the Volta region. This is unprecedented. But this is also because I feel that we must broaden our scope and work with partners. So we did not have the tractors, we had the land and the personnel. So a partner came with the tractors and just started plowing and harrowing, so that we went to the Minister of Agric. He gave us the inputs and the fertilizers so that we could also get on there. I think today we'll pick them, and he gave us additional 2 tractors. In the Volta region, we did not have to go there with our own tractors. A partner is also bringing tractors. So these are PPP arrangements that we are getting into to people. And in the next year or two, the plan is that from all these acres and acres of land that we have, if you're a service person and you did agric, you could come and take 50 acres and also plant your maize. We'll give you the inputs, give you everything. When you harvest your maize, you pay back some of the cost, and then you also see if next year you can do 100 instead of 50 you start with. So we are creating several paths of entrepreneurial engagement for our young people, so that we can begin to move from, this chronic unemployment that is beginning to eat at our feet. We should be bold at it. We have to let people know that it will work. And that is my excitement, that people are beginning to buy into this idea and are taking up the challenge so much. I want us to, within a short time, designate our Papao poultry farm as a poultry institute where people from everywhere in Accra, the schools and everything, will come and learn something about poultry, from which they can also have their own poultry farms around the country. Imagine that in the next 2-3 years, we stop chicken importation, and then this economy has $350 million reinvested in this country. And that is what we are talking about. Imagine if we do not have maize shortage until next year. It means kinky prices are going to be stabilized. Imagine that we don't have to bring tomatoes from Burkina Faso. And from our farms in Yape, 100-acre tomato farm in Yape, and then 100-acre farm in Kumeu, we'll begin to save ourselves some money, and they are taxed on the CD every now and then. When the economy begins to grow, our youth will become confident and bolder, and they will do different things. But for now, where it starts is the hard work, and we must encourage them to do the hard work.
So it certainly sounds as though it's been a collaborative effort.
Yes.
You mentioned MasterCard. You also mentioned the Ministry of Agriculture.
Yes.
How keen has the Ministry of Agriculture been in working and collaborating?
Oh, the minister has been wonderful. Honorable Ekopoko has been wonderful. When I get there, I don't spend minutes. I just have to ask him what I want, and he says, you know what, you've got it. He sends me to their agric machinery site at Amrahi and said, Felix, if you need anything here, just check and let me know. I will give it to you. And I say this to him, all partners who are helping us, that I'm not going to let them down. They're going to be so proud of their involvement in national service at this stage. I mean, my policy is that if what we are spending will not bring us back the yields that we want, I will not spend. I'm a business person. I will not do that. My background is in construction. And then for me, you know what, of all these years that I've been in construction, you have to build a wall, finish a roofing and all that before you can raise a certificate for payment. You cannot earn money for appearance. It's not football. So that is the thing that I'm inculcating into our management, our team and everything, that if we invested a certain amount of money in a 100-acre tomato farm, we must pick every fruit from the floor.
No wastage.
No wastage. And that is what I'm planning. And we have so much service persons to do this work, and they're exciting. So I do not want us to make this as if it is a wonderful thing and all that. We just have to put our hands on the wheel and move.
Because I wanted to ask you, I mean, wonderful interventions come, wonderful interventions go. And we see how initiatives are started with a lot of zeal, energy, and enthusiasm. How do you plan to sustain this energy with which you have started these particular initiatives on? Because sometimes we see institutions lose steam, lose momentum once, things get going. How do you plan on sustaining that energy and bringing a lot of young people on board and also sustaining their interest and their energy?
Well, I think it is very personal for me as well. President Mahama appointed me and go to the office. I'm so sure that he will never have to worry about national service, at least during our term in office. For me, this is personal. I have built everywhere in this country, and as tough as construction is, I have never left a project unfinished.
You've never left a project unfinished?
No. And this is Felix Gyamfi speaking. I've never left a project unfinished. I've built in some of the toughest places. Anybody listening who knows me very well will say it. And it is the same level of integrity and grit that I'm bringing to national service. I mean, last night, beyond 10 p.m., I was Minister for Energy, trying to get lights into our site in Yape so that we do not have to use diesel to power the generators that bring water into the fields. There's a place we are engaging 400 women to work on a 200-acre tomato farm. We have to bring lights also in our place in Sechira Farm Plains, where we have over 10,000 acres of land. It will be unthinkable for me to put all energy, put all these people to work, and the next year we don't farm, or the third year we don't farm. We will get bigger, not smaller.
And this is a conversation that you say in a year's time, maybe a year from today, when we pick it back up, we're going to see that sustained effort, that sustained energy, and of course, results.
Of course, I'm a very practical person. I mean, and that is the thing. I do not care who I work with or anything. As long as you get me the results, I'm going to work with you. I mean, I went all the way up north and came down within a quick time, had chiefs with had meeting with chiefs so that they could release back some of our land because of litigation issues, all within a week. And then I have asked them to task me personally for it. I remember in our meetings in the past week, somebody said that Exim Bank was going to give National Service money, but then at some point they were worried that if National Service was going to pay back. And then somebody quipped and said, you know what, this is a businessman, he will pay back. And that is what I want people to believe. There's no way Exim Bank will give me money and then I would fail to pay back or will not be able to pay back. I rather will not spend if we cannot pay back the money. You know, we know now that by the time we finish our maize, and then if we don't put together maybe a warehouse of a capacity of about maybe 10,000 tons, we're going to have a lot of wage. This week, that is what is going to engage my attention. I have thought about everything. I've asked all the experts. If you can build a 10,000 warehouse in time, that's fine. But this morning, I have thought that, why don't we bring containers so that we house them in? Then I thought, what is the heat going to be like storing fresh maize in these containers? So I never stop. I keep asking and asking and asking. This is a fight to save our youth from despondency. People who wake up and there's hopelessness, joblessness.
Now we know increased drug use because of that hopelessness and joblessness.
It's just so sad. Whereas if they dared, we would have avoided these things. So I do not speak like, excuse me, somebody. I'm not in a power to be, I'm in a power to do. And that's what I want this position to be about. That by the time that we finish, I would be so proud that we did this here, we did that there, we did this here. And the partners I'm working with have very good confidence in me. You call me at 2 a.m. and I'll pick and tell you what we have to do tomorrow or what we are working on. And that is what drives me mostly.
Well, time check. It is some 34 minutes past the hour of 8. You're still live here on 3 FM Sunrise on 3 FM 92.7. We're having a conversation this morning with Mr. Felix Gyamfi. He's the Director General, National Service Authority. Our topic this morning is making national service impactful and meaningful. Mr. Gyamfi has been outlining some of his initiatives and his vision for the authority. No longer a national service scheme. We know it is the National Service Authority, and some interesting and unique agricultural programs are being put together for young ones to get involved in agriculture. Now, Mr. Gyamfi, let's talk about challenges. And we can't talk about challenges without talking about money. Given our current economic circumstances, we know that there have been tough times for a lot of Ghanaians, with many Ghanaians now living in abject poverty. What we're told is multi-dimensional poverty. What is the authorities' plans, if any, to increase the allowances that are given to national service personnel?
Well, it's the second week I wrote to the Minister of Finance, and I've had several meetings with our Minister, Honorable George Oparado. I've had meetings with Honorable Kisley Atofosen, and then the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. That discussion is underway. Now that the budget has been passed, I'm sure that we'll go back and see what they can do. And it's one request that has received such positive response from everybody, and then we're glad to know that they are going to listen to us. But then we are also doing something on our own to make sure the government's burden is lessened, and that is sending service persons into the private sector. If we're able to send let's say half or at least over half to the private sector, what it will mean that government's burden or commitment to national service will reduce significantly. When that happens, it will be easy for government to pay an increase and also rapidly every month, rather than what we are looking now. So already, as you probably, if you follow, we have reduced the budget so much, whereas the previous administration was asking for 113 million every month. Now we are asking for about 68 million to 70 million.
So that's been slashed yes. By quite an amount.
And my commitment is to slash it further and probably use that same money to increase the allowance of service persons, because we would have brought the number so much down that even if you do an increase, we could use that same money to do it. We are looking everywhere to get private sector people to come and take our service persons. And for me, that is my number one objective. If that were to happen, it will bring changes to national service in our office, our operations, tools for work, cars to move around the country, employing certain people to work in our rural areas, and that is what I'm looking forward to. Because I do not know why, as a contractor, or even if you are building your own house, why can't you have somebody who did a BSc engineering, civil engineering, and let him supervise your work for you?
Now, Mr. Gyamfi, you've whet a lot of young people's appetites just now by that comment. I hope you know that, talking about some possible increase that they're going to be seeing in their allowances.
Of course, everybody admits that the current allowance is a bit too small for the circumstances.
What percentage increase would you be pushing for?
I would not.
I mean, maybe a range will do.
Oh, no. I would not there. Not there, but of course we've presented several lectures to the ministry and then proposed several scenarios.
Would you say upwards of 10%, maybe upwards of 20%?
We proposed several scenarios, and then
maybe even doubling. Is that a possibility? Seeing as you slash that budget by half,
just so that we would be able to. I mean, people. I think it's also multifaceted. The reason why people are not going to work every day, because if you're taking 715 and you lived in Adenta and you work at a ministry, I mean, I'm sure your lorry fare transportation alone is going to be consumed by the 715.
That's right.
Your parents have to help you out and all that. So, and this is a fact that everybody knows. So, it's a conversation that we began quite early in our term. So, I know in the days ahead we'll hear something positive.
There's a comment here on our stream, and thank you for all of you who are engaging with us. Keep your comments coming on Facebook. We're live now with the Director General, National Service Authority, Mr. Felix Gyamfi, and this one is coming from Bright Senam. He says that the total amount of the allowance for the year cannot cater for accommodation in some places that personnel are being posted to, not talk about transportation and other amenities. And I think Mr. Gyamfi has addressed that that is the trajectory that he's looking to go on, to increase those amounts. I recall last year when we had this conversation, national service personnel were breaking down the actual cost, the real cost, taking out of 715 cities. Talk of how much they spend to and fro workplaces, how much they spend on food, on feeding, with a lot of young men complaining that they can't even get married if they wanted to. I mean, not that for many it was high up on the agenda, but it's something that they were considering. How do I live on this 715? It is simply not enough.
Yes, and they're right, and we all know. I'm sure a lot of people know as well. The thing is that just after the last increase in 2022, then the tsunami happened, the astronomical increase in inflation, the weakening of the CD, and that caused a bit of trouble. So with time, the value of the 715 has just reduced so much that you barely can live on it. So we are working hard. I've had hours and hours of meetings with the relevant authorities, and I'm sure very soon they would respond.
What would you say would be a fair remuneration for our national service personnel? You agree, 715, sorry, Mr. Gyamfi. 715, you agree is not fit for purpose. Rent, accommodation, entertainment even. Very important for a well-balanced life. Would you say that something in the region of 1,000 Ghana cedis, maybe 1,005, doubling that amount, would be fit for purpose? I mean, we want some insight into how much more you think is fair.
I was also reminded that last meeting at the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, because of what we had presented and asked for, they told us, you know what, we're also going to go to the private sector, and most of them are burden businesses. So if you put, say, national service persons should be paid 1,700, you're going to also take away a lot of private companies who would have otherwise absorbed the cost from government. So government is going to be mindful not to also take away the private sector from taking national service persons. So I'm sure those considerations will be made.
There are some more comments here on our stream, and this is in relation to your preliminary thoughts when we're talking about posting. And you mentioned that a lot of young people don't want to be posted to certain areas because of perception. Emmanuel says, personnel are being deployed to places very far from their families. We know that allowances are almost always being delayed. He says, yes, why don't you post said personnel closer to their families? He says, kindly reconsider repostings. And there are more comments and more questions, but let me pick your thoughts on that. Or in fact, let's go on a very quick break. As you gather yourself, the questions are coming in thick and fast. We'll go on a very quick break. When we come back, we'll address these concerns and these questions as well. So do keep your thoughts coming. You're very passionate this morning indeed. The hashtag, it is 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.3 FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. We're speaking with Mr. Felix Gyamfi. He's the Director General, National Service Authority. We're talking about making national service impactful. And so far, we've had quite a delightful conversation, but you all have many questions to ask, and you're absolutely welcome to ask them across our various social media handles. Now, before we went on that very quick break, Mr. Gyamfi was going to answer the question about unfair postings, as many of you are asking. You say these postings are made far away from the homes of personnel, and with the delays sometimes with the payment of allowances, it just makes the situation untenable. Mr. Gyamfi, you asserted though that young people are not too keen on going to these places. They are opting for comfort over being impactful to society. Can you fault some of our listeners though who are asking these burning questions about postings far away from home and so on and so forth?
In the recent postings that we've just done, we released 13,700 out of a possible 22,000, and then everybody we posted in the 13,000 got your first choice. It means that if you chose to do your service in, say, Savannah region, you got Savannah. We did not post people across the regions. I think over the weekend I've had a bit of dissent. We're going to look at it this morning and see where we can make adjustments. National service is not punishment. It's something that people should look forward to do excitingly. So, and I think for so many people who have also had the benefit, the opportunity, the lack of working outside Accra, know that it is so lovely to work in places like Mampong, Bekwai, because you don't have to pay so much to get to work. You don't have to pay so much to rent an accommodation or to buy food. I mean, it's still shocking that you can buy washi 2 cedis in Tamale if you'd like. Mr.
Gyamfi, they're selling wachi 2 cedis in Tamale.
Well, I mean, somebody should. I mean, people. I mean, I'm speaking on radio. I'm sure people can get back to me that you can buy a good washi for 2 cedis or 5 cedis or something. You know, whereas in Accra, you struggle to find a place if you walk a mile. So these are the things. However, we must not also lose sight of our commitment to our national development goals. And that's why often than not, in spite of the considerations that Kola or the tester is making, we have to send people to Samaboy or Enchi or Debisu, which might seemingly very far, but that's where also there's an opportunity to get involved in the cocoa industry. Imagine you go to Debisu to go and work as a teacher, and with all the time, you found out that you could work with the cocoa people and bag some or buy ahead and then take a loan and, you know what, buy cocoa ahead before the season open. So in every life's endeavor, there's an opportunity. I have said that why are service persons not involved in the palm oil sales in Achim, for example? And these are conversations that I think are beyond the confines of what national service was taught to be. That you could be doing your service in Pando and become an agent for fish in Toko and be sending fish to people who need them in Accra. We have to establish new pathways of existence that conforms with our development goals now. We cannot sit in Accra and make it, if you want me to say that.
There's a comment here that's come through on our socials, and I'll read it out as it is. Now, this one says, I was stationed at Manso, Atre, When I went to the place, rent for a single room, which is also in Atakwame, is 7,000 cedis because of Galamsey activities.
Oh, okay.
This individual goes on to say, this is becoming more of a national punishment, boss. If you guys don't do anything about it, you will. He says, I will join the Galamsey people. Because that is the only way that I can survive. So these are some of the practical stories that are coming out on our socials.
So National Service, what we'll do is that we urge our district directors to look for accommodation for service persons before they arrive. I think that my conversations with them in the last few weeks, I have told them that we should go back to that, where we look for accommodation for people even before they arrive.
Does the authority have the scope to do so? You say you'll be looking for accommodation for these personnel that are being posted?
It is something that has been done over the years, so many years, that even before the service persons arrive in the towns that they've been posted, the district director or the district manager now who liaise with tenants.
This is not a new intervention.
No. To look for accommodation for them, and then of course the service persons pay. And then I was alarmed by the 7,000 he mentioned. But then when he mentioned Galamsey, I understood it, because I'm working at a Galamsey site now, and things that are very expensive.
You are working at a Galamsey site now.
What I mean is that
Mr.
I'm building a structure in Ashimoda where it's a Galamsey area, and then it's very difficult to even find carpenters and masons and then laborers to work, because they all go to the Galamsey site. Even stool vendors have become Galamsey people. And that has driven the local economy out of the hands of the people there, because food has gone up, accommodation has gone up. So that is peculiar to these Galamsey sites. But aside that, I have a building in my hometown, and it's a whole big building, and then they offered 80 Ghana cedis to rent a 4-bedroom house a month. And this is a major highway at Anyuan Kwanta. So imagine you're posted to Bekwa and we're looking for a place to stay. It's so easy to stay in these places. Often than not, there are these isolated incidents, but largely they are. I don't know. Maybe somebody hearing us from Wow, Savalugu can tell us how much an accommodation for a single room costs there now. I know not much.
So some of these instances are just peculiar to the area, and there are other factors, external factors that greatly impact the rent and of course the cost of living.
Yeah, in Galamsey areas around the country, things have gone up, because of the invasion of these young men and women who have come to do, and then even water has gone up in these areas. So that is what is causing these problems. But largely around the country, it's not like that. No.
Let's talk about the issue of ghost names.
Yeah.
Towards the end of last year, it was one of the biggest scandals that rocked the nation, this ghost name scandal. Now, it's not a new phenomenon. It's one that has recurred, but to the scale or the level that we were made privy to last year, it was very alarming. And I'm sure that you were definitely alarmed by that. What specific measures are you implementing to eliminate this problem and ensure a clean payroll because of how hard it hits our pockets as a nation?
Well, the mechanism or the things that we had to do to avoid this canker was all in place. It's just the leadership ignored it. So it's not of a system problem. It's not. It's just leadership. And if you have leadership that do not want to make sure the right thing is done, these things are set to happen. I have given my word that I will lead with integrity and at least as long as President Mahama is in office, as long as I am sitting at national service, Ghost name is over. It's so depraving and immoral to think that our service persons are taking 715, but somebody has, under the guise, is making millions every month. The NIB is investigating it. I'm sure the Attorney General spoke about it. Very soon, if he has the correct evidence, he will go to court and will put it behind us. But even before that happens, National Service will see significant changes that will make everybody wonder whether it's the same organization that had this debacle.
Let's hold that thought on ghost names. I will reintroduce this subject, but there's still a little bit more about postings to address, and there are more comments coming, so I do have to put this to you so we can get some much-needed clarity. We've talked about posting, and now this issue of reposting. From what I understand, there's a ban on reposting. So that it's a situation where you get posted to a specific area and personnel will decline to go to that area, will seek to go somewhere else. This is something you've put a stop to. I recall just a few moments ago you talked about, you said, is it 70%?
Yes.
Of persons got their first choice. So let's unpack that, and then we'll talk about special postings also.
You know, if before you register to do your national service, if you had any condition, say if you're married, we're obliged to post you to where your husband is or your home. If you are a mother, we'll post you to your home. If you are pregnant, we'll post you to your home. If you had any form of illness, we're obliged to post you close to home so that you have the care that you needed. Indeed, if you have any condition at all that prevents you from going anywhere in the country, we're obliged and post you to home. But after that, it becomes a problem. Now there are what we call posting contractors on university campuses and everywhere, taking money from individuals and promising them that they are going to post them to places which is better than the others and everything.
Are these personnel, are these people within the National Service Authority?
Well, I'm sure in the past they've had collaborators in the National Service Authority, like the schemes office and all that. Now the thing is that everybody know who I am, my style of leadership and all that. So I've not even had to tell people that, you know what, don't do it. But since we posted the 13,700, nothing has happened. We're going to look, and as it happens every year, there's going to be a review, and then see where we can make some changes which are very critical. But largely, we want people posted to where they are posted to go and do their service.
But if there are any peculiarities, you can certainly... So there's a comment here on our socials. Kweku Bright says, please, my sister is a lactating mother, but she's been posted to a far place. What can be done about it? Should we go to the regional office or should we head to the national office?
There was, when you are filling the form, there's a place. If you're pregnant, you could add either your antenatal card, or if you're married, your marriage certificate and all those things. If you fail to do that, clearly you know there's going to be a challenge, right? So, I mean, for those people, I think that the lines are there for them to reach out to us, and if you show the evidence, we will rectify the challenge. But every year these things happen. It was also about a month and everything was stabilized. I do not have any malicious intent to post anybody to a place where they'll face hardship and all that. But as you've heard me speak in the last few minutes, I want people to experience Ghana and love it, and out of which there might be such a wonderful opportunity for them.
I'm also seeing a lot of comments regarding PINs. Some personnel saying that they haven't received their PIN codes up until now. Is that a problem that you are currently aware of?
We establish now several rigorous forms of reforms and all that, and there are different ways that we have had to check this cancer of ghost names. And so if you're coming from a college of education where its accreditation with the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission has expired, we will not admit you to do national service. And that quickly saw all the schools going back to GTech, and over 20 of them had expired accreditation. So they had to go back and do it. That delayed the pins of some of them. Now I can see that at least 40 colleges of education have the accreditation, and then their pins have been released. If you were writing to me and there's a mismatch between the figure 40 and then the word 40. So you said in figure you wrote 40, but when it came to the word, you wrote 41. I'm going to decline that letter and ask that you rewrite the letter and confirm the actual figure. I have suspicion about the numbers of teachers that we are currently working on. As I speak to you now, we are back at GTech so that we get the accurate number of service persons that the government has been paying allowances to in the colleges of education, so that we can be sure that all the 21,000 or so people we are posting this year are actually colleges of education graduates. So we are leaving no stone unturned.
I see. Is that the special posting then?
No, the special posting is just fraud. People going to coming to you and say that, if you give me 300 Ghana cedis, I will give you where you want to be posted to. And in collision with somebody at the National Service, they send you to somewhere that you're likely you maybe otherwise wouldn't have been posted to, and that has caused a redundancy in Accra, because Ghana Airport Company asks for 115 people, and we end up sending them 300 people. How is that national service?
And is that under the guise of special
because
posting?
Because everybody wants to go to Ghana airports. So and then I have called meetings with stakeholders, our youth groups, our partners everywhere, and I'm saying that this year, if Nestle Ghana Limited asks for 21 people, and after we have posted 21 people, nobody is going to send any more people to Nestle Ghana or Cocoa Board or wherever that is, because it's also a mark of indiscipline that GCB asks us for 700 people and we end up sending them 1,200. You devalue the experience that the 700 people were going to have. So let's be disciplined. Let's get this thing done. If you have any issues before the posting of national service, bring it up, and I will personally make sure it is done. Now, the people who are going to finish school this year are already in their final year. We know already. It's not going to be a surprise that these people will finish their courses this year. We've known for 4 years that we're going to finish in 2025.
So none of that disparity in those who finished and those who are posted, you say the numbers will correspond?
Of course. It has to.
And Mr. Gyamfi, to be clear then, you say now reposting, special posting, extinct.
We are done with it. We are done with it. And I'm not going to spend a lot of energy saying it. I think that even in my silence, it is done. When we post you and you have special considerations and all that, we are obliged morally, ethically, to make sure that we send you to where you're supposed to go. If there are very peculiar challenges to help you, we will. And as we've sat down a lot more, what is going to happen is that we're going to send our persons to the private sector, a lot of them, and rightly so that they learn the right skills, they get a good experience, so that getting a job after school is easier, and they could also become young entrepreneurs, the future businessmen. So I have said that every business in Ghana where people in their old ages are doing, national service people must be sent there. If your church, why can't your church hire one estate management graduates? So churches, schools, everybody must come to national service and hire service person and engage them. Of course, it's cheaper. They are hardworking. They get to work very early. They're excited to get work done. And that's what I'm looking forward to. This is not something that National Service Authority is going to do alone. This is something that all Ghanaians must do, so that we give young people the right experience to build disciplined youth, to build a good workforce that get up to work.
Absolutely. Now, this will be our final thing on postings, and then we can move on, talk about ghost names, and then finalize the conversation. You mentioned that if there are special circumstances, the authority has no qualms about looking into it and making rectifications. Because gathering from the comments that I'm seeing, it's a case of personnel realizing some of the challenges after they have been posted. For example, this comment here says, please consider reposting because Upper Dintra West is very expensive, especially the cost of living. Also with the accommodation, okay, that's been addressed. Are you going to pay for rent? Please consider reposting. So these instances are ones where personnel have been...
Upper Dintra West is not one town. Upper Dintra West, I think, is that there? So it's a mining town. I am for it. So I think there are challenges there, like I mentioned, but those are peculiar. And then, but largely, if you looked in town a bit, I'm sure you find a very good accommodation to rent. So it's not a problem.
So is it the case then you've been posted, you reach your destination, and you realize the conditions are not favorable? Mr. Gyamfi, are you saying that it's just too bad, tough?
Oh, no. We're not saying that. I'm sure we can liaise with the schools and all that. When we are sending people to the schools, you know what people don't know is that the requests to send service persons to peculiar schools come from schools, organizations, TV3. So if TV3's office in Sunyani asks for a specialist cameraman, I mean, are you guys going to check that guy out if you really need him? You help him find accommodation. It is like that in the schools. That we ask the headmaster to help the young people who are coming to their school for accommodation. For so many years, my friend's father's church in Anyako always made requests for service persons and asked that they will be housed and they will be given some stipends apart from what we're giving them. This is a common story with national service. For so many people who took up the challenge to go around the country, they have very wonderful stories to tell.
So you'd say young people should avail themselves and they could be surprised potentially by what they learn and gather by going even far away from home. Yes.
Ghana has changed so much. I think if you're not traveling, you are missing a lot. It's a very beautiful country with immense opportunities that we are just letting them go by. You'll be amazed what you find in OT region, for example. People are not daring enough, and that is so sad. You know what? There could be very good opportunities in ginger, yam, pepper and all that. You're going to do your national service, but you end up becoming a ginger farmer or a ginger aggregator, and you are selling ginger to people in Accra. That is a sort of new mindset that we need to get ourselves out from these doldrums. We cannot play it the way we've played it for so many years. That is not working now. Times have changed. Look, if you were in the Southern Volta and today you wanted fish, either bovilolo or akpakarami and all that sort of thing, today you could make a call and then somebody from there will bring it to you. Not only to you here in Accra, it could go all the way to Canada. These are businesses our service persons might take advantage of. What do we have to do so that, I have dedicated people in, say, Angloga or Ashiata, so that, they prepare this fish and I can buy them and then send them to people in Accra from my room without even going out there, because you establish a channel of supply lines that goes from the woman who sent it to the station, and then from the station somebody pick it up, the driver and Okada guy pick it and send it to an office somewhere. We have to be daring, and this is where our salvation lies.
Absolutely. Yes. Let's talk about what you say is the canker of in-house personnel aiding and abetting fraud. How are you stamping or clamping down on this? Your very own Goro boys, as it were, offering to post or repost personnel for some money.
I think people also see who you are, and then they see your own. Look, between you and I, when I ask them to do the postings, I've not asked them anything, what has happened or anything. I just asked them, we have to bring this posting out. I've not gone to them and say, change this one for me. I have not given them one posting to be done for me, either by me or anybody. I asked that, just do the postings. When they released the postings, I was in Kwawu in our farm last week. So I think that people build confidence around that. They know I trust them. And they know, this trust has to be earned and respected. Because if you break it, then it's going to be very frustrating.
Is that enough?
Well, the tougher safeguards are there. But at the basic, this is what I'm telling you.
What would those tougher safeguards look like practically?
Well, you cannot change posting without us detecting in the system. After we've posted, if anybody goes into the system to change even a letter, we would know.
I find that quite interesting, this perspective you enter into the conversation, that even on your, as a DG, you are not going and asking that change this, put this person there. And you say, what signal does that send to your staff and those who work with you?
I think that they are very confident. This is a different person. He wants the right thing done. And that's it. I have had some complaints yesterday. The person who did the posting, I've not called to ask him what's happening. No. I'm going to go back to him and say, let's sit down. What are the challenges that we have to do? And I'll bring everybody on the table so that it is transparent, it is clear that we are working together. We have to solve these challenges together. Of course, national service is one of the places that we are lowest paid. So people can say that is a reason why, often than not, these corrupt acts go on. But I have assured them that if we send the people to the private sector and we are earning so much money and we have reduced government's commitment in terms of allowance to national service, I'll go back to the president and say, Mr. President, see what we have done within a year. Please help the national service staff and increase their salaries to the level of some of the public agencies that are also earning so well. And it's something that they have bought into. that we could, on our own, raise money to buy our own cars, furnish our offices, train our people in new areas that conforms to modern working areas, and then also set up digital centers where we can do work differently. And I'm sure they are looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Let's go back to the issue of ghost names. We started and then went back to the issues of postings. Let's talk about the role of technology when it comes to stamping out this canker of ghost names. What are some of the interventions, new interventions, if any, that you are looking to implement to stop this once and for all?
Well, the interventions were always there. You know what? In 2021, the guy, our consultant now showed me a letter that I wrote to the former Director General and asked that if you didn't have Ghana card, you didn't register with a Ghana card, let's delete all the names. That's about 6,000 people. You came from universities that were not accredited by GTEC, the Ghana Tertiary Education people. That's about another 5,000 people. You registered without your biometric features and all. That's a few thousands of people. So if these things were adhered to, we would have had.
So these things were not adhered to?
Of course. And that's not me saying it. That's the record. It's on record that these things were not adhered to. So now it has to be adhered to. And that's the only way I would have it because of the situation we have at hand.
What will be the consequences for anybody who doesn't adhere?
You will not do national service. You will not even be admitted in our system. If we say you were to register without a Ghana card, or you came from a university without accreditation from GTEC.
I'm talking about the fraudulent activities that happen within the national service.
I'm not going to say authority. So much about it on radio, but you know what? This year I have had a lot of text message people saying, "Oh, you know what? He's going to backhaul. He's going to, after some pressure, he will just give way for this special posting to take place." And then I have sent it to the relevant security agencies. So I'm sure, and I have given fair warning to people that desist from that. Like I said to you, I, as the leader, is not going to enter in the system and change anything. So who else can? And that is the thing. Since we did the postings, I've not asked them to change one person. No, I haven't.
Are there some more postings yet to come? Another batch of posting in the pipeline?
We're estimating around 22,000. We've done 13,700. So at least about a little over 9,000 people are yet to be posted. Today, we'll see the status of that, and then that would also go as well. And these are for teachers from our colleges of education, mainly.
Yes. You mentioned that in due course we should be hearing, hopefully from the Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, what the progressions have been in this particular case. You said there have been some progressions then?
Well, I'm sure the Attorney General gave updates on this case last week or two, and he is the final authority on the investigations. I do not have direct access to the progression of the investigation. So,
are you keenly involved?
If they came to ask me a question of which they've come to ask so much, I provide the answers.
All right. Now, since you've taken over, have you taken any measures to sanction any persons that have been involved in any untoward dealings in the National Service Authority? Now, I'm not even just talking about this particular issue of ghost names across the board. Have you had to met out any punishments, any warnings, that sort of thing, as you enter into this realm and institute your own policies and ideas?
I'm a fair-minded person. And then I like to act honestly, with integrity. If there's a clear shot that somebody has acted, wrongly, illegally, I will not wait a second to take an action. As we speak, the BNI is yet to finish their work and then issue a report and then recommend certain sanctions. When that happens, within minutes, I will take that action, and that's what we wait for.
We're also keeping our eyes and ears firmly on that particular issue, because again, the amounts of monies that are alleged to be involved, very astronomical when we think about our economy and the way forward. And for you say it's a new dawn, it's a new day. Tales like this are going to be tales of the past, not something that we move forward with in the Authority. Now, I want to ask about tracking success stories. You had initially, as we started the conversation, talked about some of the rural areas that have benefited from national service personnel, primary health care, district assemblies. How do you measure what the success stories look like?
Well, we're working with the Ghana Education Service and other partners in education. And then there's a particular group that came, we had a long discussion, Comfort, Campaign for Female Education and Development in Africa. And then other such organizations where, because of the involvement of teachers in particular districts where we have high teenage pregnancy issues, we've had to beef up our numbers there so that with time we can reduce these things. So in all areas, if you look at it, we are chalking some successes, and that's why this year Comfort is sending service persons to areas to help beef up young girls' education so that they don't drop out of school earlier than their male counterparts, and that is something I'm really committed to and making sure that would happen. So if you came to me and said that we should take you from, say, West Mamprusi because you doubt that you'd be happy there, I would rather look for a place with you with a district or regional director so that you stay to help our young ladies in West Mamprusi.
Absolutely. Time check. It is some 15 minutes past the hour of 9. Still live here on 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. We're speaking with Mr. Felix Gyamfi, Director General, National Service Authority, and we're going to be wrapping up on this conversation. And Mr. Gyamfi, let me ask about this idea about military training of national service personnel. I recall it's something that the president had brought up. Has this conversation been expanded? What are the initiatives, if any, that are being made to prepare for such an intervention?
Well, we are, of course, after the president's pronouncement, even before, we've had some discussions, and that is ongoing. So we would have maybe some days, military sessions for our new service persons, especially depending on where they are going to, just as when they are posted. And this year we're going to give a very big gap between the actual postings and then people taking up or registering to go. So if by June we have about 50% of our private sector places ready, we'll go ahead and post and lock it and hold on, so that those who know they have been posted can go to do their military training and go away. So in August or September, when the public sector people are also ready, they can also go. We have to do things differently, and that is what really will bring out what the president is looking for.
You talk about agriculture. We saw on the Facebook stream, if you were watching, you saw some of the chicks, a few thousand of them, and Mr. Gyamfi says the young personnel, and you can see that on the screen, quite excited about that. Beyond agriculture and looking ahead, how does the National Service Authority plan to contribute to Ghana's broader economic and social development? So technology, manufacturing, what are the plans in those sectors as well?
You know, so the tomatoes that we're producing in Yapi and then this one, we're already in talks with partner to bag them into tomato paste and puree. All right? We can send some of our eggs and then...
Similar to what's happening in Burkina Faso. They're doing tomato paste now.
Of course. And these are people like us. We are more than them. We have younger people who have all these lands. And then it will be a lovely story if we bring our tomato importation to zero now, so that young people would now know that they are contributing meaningfully to the Ghanaian economy. And it's something that they are excited about. And it's something that they are really looking forward to, because in our farms you meet very young, bright ladies who are working in the farms, and they are eager to make an impact and have their own farms. Like Yapi, you have a lot of young ladies, about over 200 of them we've recruited now, and they are looking forward to sending their tomato down here, or indeed letting ShopRite take them up in the shops in Accra.
Now, what about NASPA? What is your relationship with NASPA? What are your plans in strengthening that collaboration? We know that in times past, there's been some conversations about dues being deducted from source and not being remitted and so on and so forth. How do you balance these challenges with your new agenda?
No, since taking office, I have had several discussions with them, and then I've told them what we have to do, and then they are on board. We're looking forward to when we harvest our maize, they can serve as the mobilizing force so that we could harvest 5,000, 8,000 acres of maize quickly so that the rains do not destroy them. If they work in such manner with us, we will work with them in any way that will also make you feel very comfortable and feel that they are part of it. Now, the NASPA president is part of the NSS board, which is very good. So the policy direction that is taken at the board, he's fully part of it. So he knows what he has to commandeer his colleagues to do so that we get our desired results.
Now, there's a peculiar instance here, and I'm reading here, outstanding issues with the 2022-2023 year group. For example, the whole of the Western region did not receive their disbursement, the NASPA dues. What has happened with that?
Well, I'm yet to know about this. I'm hearing this for the first time. When I got to office, it was the northern region that had not received their allowance. And
that's the northern region.
The northern region. That was the only one that I was told about. So we had to change the signatory, and they've since long been paid. Apart from that, I do not know of any other region who have not received their allowance.
This one, this message here, it's alleging that
the money is probably
Western
spent
region.
now, so... Sorry.
Oh, beg your pardon. Change of weather. You say the money by now for the Western region long gone?
I didn't come to meet it in the account, so...
Most certainly. So, Mr. Gyamfi, they should forget about it.
Well...
I just want to know so that we can put this one on the back burner.
The money is not there.
The money is not there. And you talked about some engagement with leadership. What does that look like so far?
With NASPA?
Yes.
Oh, no, it's very good.
Okay.
I'm sure that we've... there are no outstanding issues that we have to resolve or anything. And then they are on board. We are going to work with them as... NASPA was supposed to be a mobilizing force for these projects that we do. So if there were, say, disaster or something, within minutes, they could come by and pass water around or build something so that people will bring immediate relief to people. In the times that we are, I have said that why doesn't NASPA use their some of their money to go into palm oil business in Nachim? They would have employed some of their own people in groundnuts, in cashew, in tomatoes, and all that. And these are conversations that I want to have with them. That if they invested 200, 300,000 of their money into any of the business and their own people have been employed there and see it. It is time for entrepreneurial development so that we clear people away from unemployment. And these are conversations that we have begun, and I know very soon it will yield the needed results.
Also, this one has come up a few times as we've been speaking. Exit plan for national service personnel. What does that look like? Well,
and that's what I've spent the last minutes talking about. That if you did national service and then you did civil engineering at K University and then you're posted to a church and asked that, supervise our new building. That is a new pathway of life. And that is what I want people to be engaged in. That if you were posted to a flower and then, they do this onions there.
That's right.
And then you can find, a market for the onions back in Accra. There's a pathway in life. If you worked in in the markets, or I've asked myself, why are national service persons not in, where they sell the car pass? I was so kind, and the one in Kumasi, Swami. Because if you go there now and you see the way they arrange things, you ask for Mercedes-Benz wiper, and the guy has to rummage through a pile of what you can easily describe as rubbish. But a service person who did, say, stores management would arrange some things in such a way that the moment you ask that I needed this. He knows exactly where it is. That is very good for ease of business. So that I've asked that let's go to these areas and ask people to get national service persons to come and do your accounting for you, your books, so that we know you are orderly, you are business. Most of these businesses are dying after the owner passes because there are no records, there's no experience, there's no passage of knowledge and all that. And these are areas that, you know what, we have to send our service person to. My mother sold beans to take care of me throughout the university. Why can't I do something in the food area? Find new markets where I live so that, you know what, I could grow the business a bit. Your mother sold washi to take care of you, and now you don't want to have anything to do with it. You are in a room complaining about unemployment. But these days, if you cook washi even in your bedroom, people know how good and delectable it is. You could be having orders from Laboni anywhere in Accra. So it's the new mindset that people should have. That to sit in an office and be paid a fixed amount of money is somewhat coming to an end. Because if we do not do that, a lot of our people are going to be at home without jobs, and that is the truth.
We've got to expand the mindset of what the possibilities could be. Young people need to change their mind, you say, and embrace a new way.
Yeah, embrace new ways, get into, all areas that you can imagine. Not too long ago, it was unthinkable to say that you buy stew from somewhere, for example. But these days, you can buy soup.
That's right. You store it. Big containers.
And then people come and order them. Once they know you do the right thing, we have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of people who did food science, home economics, and then they are struggling to find work because there are just so many hotels. After that, what happens to the rest? Can they get on their own so that they bake pies for meetings for people and then, do something, things around which they studied? So I'm looking forward to every one of them going back to where they specialize and do their businesses there. Often than not, there's a lot of fish, smoked fish somewhere, but in Accra, it's finished. You go to a big restaurant and they don't have fish. So but there's a lot of fish in Yeji, in Toko. What happened? Because the supply lines are not established, and so we don't know when our fish in Accra will be finished. You have to wait till the market women go back to Yeji. Whereas the very smart national service persons would have established lines and know that, for your stock, you need this thing by this time and all that. And this is what our studies taught us. So to apply them, you need to apply yourself. You don't have to sit in an office and fill in form for visitors. And then at the end of the day, that's not service. You're wasting your time.
I think we've exhausted quite a lot of the conversations or questions that are coming up on our stream. This one quickly, Mr. Gyamfi, voluntary national service. We've had one or two questions about that. Is that something that still exists for those who want to volunteer?
So, upon coming to office, I stopped all voluntary service in our offices and all other places because it was being abused. But
how so?
Oh no, people who were not needed in offices were working, like what I have just told you.
Okay.
That, you just come and then while away time, and then at the end of the day you go back home, and that was going on for virtually everywhere. So I asked that in all our offices, the volunteers be asked to go home. However, if you wanted to do voluntary service in our farms, we will take you. We have been asked for more people. We have just finished rehabilitating our poultry farm at Okwapman Secondary School. It's in a project that we are going to do with Get Fund very soon. That will build clusters of poultry farms around the country so that the schools will directly have access to eggs and poultry meat everywhere. We finished one in Okwapman. We are going to ask the director there to recruit young ladies as volunteers to come and work. That is where we would allow people to work. We are not going to allow volunteers to be in offices where there are already 4 people doing nothing anyway. And it should be very clear. I like young people to be productive, because when you are productive, it teaches you a lot. It teaches you a lot other than just sitting in an office and not doing nothing. And that's why I let the thing go away. If you're in Yapi today and you're a young lady and you wanted to get in tomato farm, we are putting 4 of you on a land so that you guys will cultivate 1 acre of a tomato farm in Yapi and also in Branham. in the lean season, when it's not raining too much, on all these lands that we're doing maize, we're going to do soya, so that we do not have to import feed for our poultry. And that often than not has been the reason why egg prices shot up from a mere 20 Ghana cedis to 60 Ghana cedis a crate now. And these things, we have to stabilize them or reverse the price to affordable prices. And that's my commitment to these things, really.
And you talked about, so we've talked a lot about agric, but you did say in manufacturing, also technology, some interventions will be made. We will be seeing that. How soon will we see that? We see you've taken off in the agric side of things, but for manufacturing and technology, as you mentioned earlier, it's in the pipeline. How soon?
The tomato is...
the tomatoes as well?
Yeah. We are transplanting the tomato to from seedlings to the field, and I'm sure that if there was time, I would have shown you more videos from our visit to the farm last week, and then very soon there will be a lot of tomato, at least in that area, and it will bring tomato price down. These are irrigated farms, so around the year we could be growing tomatoes and selling them, and then there will be no need to buy 4 pieces of tomato for 50 Ghana cedis because it's gone. it's rainy season. Yes.
I'm seeing here. Commander College of Education graduates are yet to receive their PIN codes. What can be done about that?
Well, if they have their GTEC letter ready and there's no miscommunication or some errors within the numbers and all that, I'm sure they have already received them, or they probably don't know that we have uploaded them. It's one of the major colleges of education in Ghana, and I know they should probably have it by now. Because
they also go on to say that juniors who haven't completed school have PIN codes.
Well,
some anomaly there.
Commander has an error. They used, if I'm right, they used 2 years PIN codes and uploaded them as a current one. So we had to delete the previous one and write to the principal to now submit a new list of the current years. I'm sure that's why it has delayed, if I'm right. At least one of the colleges had this concern. So.
Certainly. And a time check, it is some 29 minutes to the top of the hour, 10 a.m. We're wrapping up on this conversation with Mr. Felix Gyamfi, Director General, National Service Authority. A lot of your questions are still trickling in. Some have already been answered, but fear not. We'll have this conversation on our socials so you can go back and watch and have those burning questions answered for you. You can find it on YouTube. It'll also be on Facebook. Mr. Gyamfi, please, your final words, and then we can wrap up officially.
I'm urging all Ghanaians, businesses, churches, schools, small businesses, everybody to come and then pick a national service person and train them and give them the skills that they need for the future. That will be a step towards making sure that we're preparing the youth for the future. If we do not, who will?
If we do not, who will? Mr. Gyamfi, thank you so much for your time this morning. We've had a very comprehensive conversation about some of your plans, interventions, and also some of the scandals which have emerged, which you say we should be hearing a lot more of in the coming weeks. And I'm sure that as these farming interventions progress, technology, manufacturing, you avail yourself again so we can find out exactly what the progress looks like. We wish you well and do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Thank you.